The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
I'm going to hit the giant elephant in the room that I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast is very upset that I haven't asked this question about.
Right here.
Yeah. Tarzan, let's talk about that. You were
That is not where I thought you were going with that. I was like, oh my gosh, what has he dug up?
What's up, besties? Welcome back to a brand new season of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. And if you're new around here, I am still the second part of that title. Guys, we are back and better than ever. All right. I had to come out swinging if I was going to do a brand new season. So we are part of the Big Comedy Network, which is one amazing thing. They have been so generous towards Childlike at Best. And now there is a video component to the podcast, which is going to be really fun. So if you want to see my cute, adorable face wearing dinosaur sweaters like this one right here, you can definitely go on to their YouTube channel, to the Big Comedy Network YouTube channel, to watch the podcast, or you can still listen as well. As long as you're digesting this podcast, I don't really care what it is that you're doing. Just digest it, grow the family, tell everyone about it, because we want as many people to listen to it as possible. Also, I had to come out swinging if I was going to do a brand new season. So that means that we have big, amazing guests, and today's guest is no different. We are starting off this new season with the amazingly talented Jason Marsden. Jason Marsden, yeah, Max Goof from a Goofy movie, Spirited Away, TGIF sitcoms. Have you ever heard of these things? I mean, is my mic even on right now? Jason Marsden, everybody, the quintessential best friend. I mean, such a quintessential best friend that his character's name on Boy Meets World was Jason Marsden. Okay, this guy is absolutely incredible. We had a really, really fun conversation about comedy, about his time that he was on TGIF sitcoms, also what it was like being a part of a Goofy movie and all these different things. He's also promoting a really awesome thing that he's doing on his YouTube channel called the Mars Variety Hour, which is super fun. It has a bunch of music, comedy, sketches, bunch of great things, and it's all on his YouTube channel. If you want, you can follow him for any times that you want to see him at a con, or if you want to see his variety hour, he's at Jason Marsden on Instagram. And also another brand new thing that I'm super excited about. We have merch, ladies and gentlemen. We have Childlike Wonder merch. If you can go to childlikewonder.co, you will be able to see our entire merch collection. I am so excited about this episode. I'm so excited for you to listen, and I'm so excited for this new season. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with the amazing Jason Marsden.
What kind of performing are you doing?
I mean, I do as much acting gigs as I can. Like I do obviously TV work, movie work as much as I can. And stand-up comedy. I've been in stand-up comedy for about 7 years.
Outstanding. I've been doing that around here, and I live in Nashville, and there's a big stand-up community here, and I've been doing it. I've been doing open mics because I'm too. I haven't found my voice yet. But it's terrifying. It is so different than acting.
Yeah,
it's much more vulnerable, and you have to learn how to fail with dignity. You know,
but it's awesome, man, at the same time. And this is one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about, because I know how fascinated you are with stand up. And as soon as I found that out, I was like, oh man, I'm going to nerd out with this guy about stand up so much.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because like, it's one of those things where like, you know, because, you know, you've been an actor for so long, and you're kind of reading other people's words. So you finally get to almost be yourself in a lot of ways. Of course, it's an exaggerated version of yourself, but you finally get to be the vulnerable version of yourself. And it's very humiliating. So I almost think that everybody should try stand up in a lot of ways.
I agree. It's a great way. I mean, obviously, to deal with public speaking, to get out of the nerves of that, to learn stream of consciousness, to be, like I said before, like when the mantra is like, learn to fail with dignity. I mean, you're not going to do great every time. And how do you deal with the jokes that don't land, or the uncomfortable silences, or heckling, or, the thing that life throws at you? It's almost an art form in a way. Right. But yeah, I've been, I'm not knocking my career. I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've had, but sitcom acting, that's one of the reasons I wanted to try stand up, is because sitcom acting has made me feel sort of safe, because like you said, I'm reading other people's words. We're doing it in front of a live audience that's being warmed up by a comic. Mm-hmm. People are programmed to laugh. I mean, you just can't, it's almost impossible to fail. So this is another way to get, around that, try something new.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And that's really awesome, man. And what's super cool is like, you're in a really great scene in Nashville, because you have Zanies is out there, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have Zanies, you guys have Side Splitters, I believe.
We don't have Side Splitters. We have Third Coast Comedy.
Third Coast, yeah.
And the Comedy Room, I think it's called. It's new, though I forget. But then there's open mics all over the place. The East Room in my neighborhood hosts the Tuesday open mic. It's been going on for years,
right?
And it's one of the most revered, challenging mics.
Sure.
So it's a good place to work it out. And sometimes we get established comics who come through. They'll work out stuff there as a surprise. But they're very aggressive about their comedy here. And you're also like, another great reason to be in Nashville is that you're surrounded by every other major city: Atlanta, Virginia, North Carolina. So the traveling comics can really, get their feet wet doing mics all over the place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love that, man. And have, just out of curiosity, has it been challenging in the sense of like getting recognized? Maybe, people are like, oh, like I know that guy from Full House.
No, I mean, it does happen, but it's not weird. I mean, and thankfully, I mean, no one's treating me any different.
Sure.
No one's, everyone's very nice. And there was one comic who, in an open mic, I hadn't even talked with this person beforehand, and she went on stage and started her bit with like, you ever had any cartoon crushes in here? Well, my cartoon crush, and I was like asking everyone what their cartoon crushes were. And she's like, mine is Max Goof. And then everyone turns to me like, oh, ha, ha, ha.
Oh boy.
There was that. It was funny. It was great. And some people do joke at my expense, which I don't mind, as long as it's not short jokes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, dude, so I have something similar. I mean, granted, it's something similar to that comic, at least. Nothing near what's happened to you. But one of my really big closers is I have like a 2.5 minute closer about Full House. It is a lot of people would call it my finishing move. Like it is like a really, like some people would say it's a really great closer. I did it at Flappers Burbank, not even realizing that the cast and crew of Full House was in the audience.
Oh, really? How about that?
Uh-oh.
How about that? Is it a scathing joke? Or
no, it comes from a person that is truly a fan of Full House. And,
right on.
And the only way you could make a joke like that is if you love it, because the joke is about how the show is so vanilla, but nobody talks about how the show happens because spouses die. You know?
Yes.
And so like, like when you think about it, it's a pretty dark premise for like such a vanilla show.
Sure.
And so like, and
it never explained how they die. I mean, like one of the guys could have,
well, the punchline to the joke, and I'll give it away to you, but the punchline to the joke is that it was in the theme song the entire time. So like everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Like, you know, like it's all the body parts are in the garage. Like it was in the house. Like like it was the house that did the whole thing. You know,
sure. Oh, nice.
So yeah. There's video footage of me doing it at Miami to a bunch of Cubans that do not understand the reference, but it's great. But I want to know more about you, Mars. Where did you grow up, Mars?
I was born and raised in Rhode Island, Warwick, Rhode Island, biggest little state in the Union. And then spent a couple years in Pittsburgh, and then pretty much grew up in Los Angeles, and started in Orange County in 1987. And then when acting started for me, we moved to Los Angeles to make the commute a lot less trying.
Of course. And when did that start? At a super young age?
Yeah, I was about 11.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what happened? Like, was it like a dude came up to you at a mall and told your mom, like, this kid's got it? Or like, what was it?
Can you bring your son into my van for 15 minutes?
Exactly.
Thankfully, no, that didn't happen. But someone approached my mother and was like, your son's cute. You should get him into acting. And my parents immediately glommed onto the idea. They found a workshop in Irvine, California, called Del Mar Media Arts, which I believe is still running these days. Yeah, I think even online.
Yeah.
And it was like an all ages thing. Like we went Thursday nights. It was like after school, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Thursdays. And it'd be like kids, my age up to like, people in their 70s. And we worked on everything. They introduced us to like the technical aspects of acting, like slating, hitting your mark, to working on scenes, to working on commercial copy, to working on voiceover. Yeah. And after about 12 weeks of that, they sent me to an agent. The agent signed me like that day, and immediately, like the next day, saturated with auditions, voiceover, movies, TV. So it was, it was a little bit of maybe luck, right place, right time. I would say probably talent. I don't know. I don't know if I had a lot of talent at the beginning.
I disagree.
Right place, right time a little bit.
No, man, I disagree. I think you had a lot of talent. I saw Far From Home. Everybody liked the Torkelson sequel.
Almost Home, you mean? Almost Home, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you didn't think anyone was going to remember Almost Home today, did
Every
you?
so often, people bring it up. I'm pleased about.
I love it. No, it's great. That's actually the first time I think I ever saw you when I was a kid. Because that show, I just remember that show and the Torkelsons just playing a lot on the Disney Channel. Yes. And so, yeah, I just remember a lot of that. And of course, you took over. I like to call you the quintessential best friend because you just took over TGIF. Like you were the best friend. Like, in fact, so much so you were in all of the shows, like as the best friend. And even in Boy Meets World, they were like, we're not even going to give you a character. You're going to play Jason Marsden because you're that good of a best friend.
Yes. Typecasting, best friend. Yeah. I think there was even one TGIF, I believe, where I was on all 3 shows in one night. I think it just sort of happened like that.
But dude, you were so cool. Stinking good at it, man. I mean, you still are. Don't get me wrong. You still are very, very good. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why, you're still at this, and I mean, it's ridiculous. But I mean, but again, and I can. Stroke your ego all day, but that's just yeah.
Why do you think I do these podcasts, man?
Yeah, man. Don't threaten me with a good time. But yeah. So, but yeah, that's amazing. So you started at 11. I imagine in commercials, right? That's what you.
It was everything. The first thing I booked was a commercial.
Yeah.
And then Yeah, mostly commercials, and I did like an episode of Webster.
Okay.
A cartoon, and yeah, it was just whatever. Well, I guess whatever I was right for at the time, you know.
Right. And now, out of curiosity, just because these are all the things that I like to talk about on this specific show, what was your schooling life like? Like, who did you sit with at the lunch table? You know, what kind of person would you say you were at school? Who were your friends? That's
a good. No one's asked me that before. My in-person schooling lasted till about 7th grade, and then it was mostly on the set. But growing up, I remember in 1st and 2nd grade, our classroom was a mixture of 2nd and 3rd graders. And the only 2nd graders in the class was me and 3 other girls. And so we were like this tight group. We were like tight, like little hang.
Right.
So I hung out with them. I hung out with like dorks and wacky kids. And, I mean, I guess kind of everyone, you know, I was one of those guys, like I wasn't popular. Certainly wasn't popular, but I just try to get along with everybody, you know?
Sure. Yeah. It's funny how like the performer is very much like that, where you would think that they're the most popular, yet they're not in a lot of ways.
No, quite the opposite in a way. You know, I was, I remember,
but at the same time, they like could chameleon themselves into being likable. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, for real. No, for real. You know, I didn't get along with, you know, the jocks and all that. That wasn't my scene, but I knew how to hang with everybody, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. You can find a way to not get beat up, but you know, or at least I could during high school. Like I found ways to like, you know, through comedy, like to not get made fun of and things like that. And then even though those weren't my people, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then would still hang out with like the nerds and things like that. I'm not sure if anybody's asked you this before, but it's another question that I love to ask on this podcast. What were your favorite snacks growing up?
My favorite snacks, cheese balls.
Yes.
In the giant round cylinder, sit in front of we'd rent movies, and that would be my snack. And Chips Ahoy cookies. I could put away a box of Chips Ahoy cookies, dunk them in the milk, and they're just soft enough where they just like kind of dissolve. I'd put those away.
Absolutely. And even still,
I try not to do. I try to do processed foods if I can, Mike. Anymore.
I know, man.
But if I'm weak, I will. I'm trying to put the good stuff into my temple.
How funny is this, Mars? I had a guest a few episodes ago, and they said if I could have any superpower, it wouldn't be to fly. It would just be to be able to eat whatever I want without consequences.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
That is such a good superpower.
Without consequence?
Yeah.
Like now I'm in my late 40s, so I have to like really pay attention to what my habits are, you know? Like I mean, I kind of failed a little bit, but I at the beginning of the year, I cut out sugar for the most part. I'm kind of back into it, or at least during the week. Just trying these different things because I'm noticing the changes that happen in your body. And if I eliminate this, it helps that. If I introduce this, it helps that. So it's a constant, we're constantly evolving, you know?
Man, we just get so boring when we get old, man. It's ridiculous.
Speak for yourself. I'm getting more and more interesting as the day gets longer.
It's so funny because like when we were kids, we would eat radioactive sludge, you know, like, like we, like
that made me think of, I used to get those, speaking of radioactive sludge, the Ninja Turtle cream pie.
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Which is just like gelatinous sugar.
Yes.
Pudding in a like a thin crust.
Yes.
And it was, oh man, disgusting, that shit. Oh my gosh.
Yes. It's so funny, dude. Oh my God. It's so funny. But like, and now if you eat that, it ruins your day.
Yes.
It ruins your day if you eat that. It's
sugar
so
high
funny.
for like 15 minutes and then like nap.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. It's so funny. And speaking of which, you were talking about like movies and stuff. You would rent movies and eat cheese balls and Chips Ahoy. Yes. I know you're a big Batman fan. What was when was your fandom for Batman? When did that start?
That started, I mean, I remember as a kid, before I would go to school, my routine would be to watch television, eat breakfast, watch TV. And in the mornings, they would show the 60s Batman show. Yeah. But they do it right. They do the two-parter. It was always a two-parter, and they do the second half the next day. So it really sucked you in. So that was my first introduction. I wasn't really a comic book guy, but I liked that show. And then the 1989 Batman came out with Michael Keaton, and that just did it for me. I was obsessed with that movie. I saw it 4 times in the theater. Wow. When it came out on video, on VHS. And my son's cats just knocked over a bunch of shit. Excellent.
Oh, that's
excellent.
Okay. That's okay.
That's okay. You don't have to clean it up.
No. Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh. If they weren't so cute, I'd kick you over the fence. All right. I'm not really going to do that, ASPCA. But that was, oh my gosh. But yeah, no, so that movie came out in June of 1989. And back then, like if a movie came out in the theater, it would be years before it came out on video. It was the first time that a movie went to video super quick, like within 6 months. And I bought it and I watched that thing over and over and over again. Like that whole take on Batman. Because I thought about this the other day. I showed my son that movie. My son's 11. Uh-huh. And as I'm watching, I'm like, so he's already aware of like Christian Bale and Ben Affleck and like there's always been so many iterations of Batman. But before Michael Keaton, it was just Adam West. So that was like the first like big change that we got introduced to, like the dark suit and the dark take on it. And it was just right up my alley. Loved it.
That's so awesome, man. I mean, would you say that's your biggest fandom that you had when you were a kid, or was there other fandoms that you had as well?
I was a big Disney nerd but Batman absolutely was my,
oh my gosh, man. So this leads into my next question, which, is I heard a story about how you were able to sneak into a Batman Forever set.
Yes.
And would you care to tell that story? I would love to hear it.
Yeah, the one with Bob Saget.
I would love to hear that story.
Yes, because it ties in with Full House.
Yes.
I was working on Full House on the Warner Brothers lot where they were shooting Batman Forever with Jim Carrey as the Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones and Val Kilmer. And every chance I got, I would try to sneak on that set. I would make friends with the ADs and I would get in there, and I watched a lot, being filmed. And I got to see the scene with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones in their full outfits, being villains and doing the maniacal laughter and that sort of thing. And I was just so jazzed. And I went back to the Full House set, was in the makeup room, and I was like telling everybody, I was like, oh my gosh, I just saw Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, and Bob Saget went, "You saw Jim? Show me." He gets out of his chair and he demands that I take him to where he is. And I'm like, how is this transpiring? I didn't realize at the time, I was just ignorant. I didn't realize that Bob Saget was a stand-up, Jim Carrey was a stand-up, and that's how they would know each other. But I took him to the set. They had wrapped filming, but Jim Carrey's trailer was like right next to us, just said Riddler on it. And I'm like, I think that's his trailer. And Bob just knocks on the door. Jim Carrey opens the door in his full fucking Riddler getup. He's like, "What's happening?" Invites us in. It's just Jim and his assistant. And then Bob comes in with me, and I'm just sitting there and they're like making small talk. "How you doing?" And Jim asks like, "How's Dave Coulier doing?" And Bob says, "Oh man, his mouth is so sore because he's been blowing me all day." Like that sort of banter that happened. And
that's such a Bob Saget thing to say.
Yeah. And mind you, like I didn't know this about Bob Saget's personality. I'd watched the show. I watched America's Funniest Home Videos. No one at the time understood, because of social media and whatnot. We didn't have the library of that is, we didn't get exposed to the Bob Saget that people know today. Right. So I was just shocked. But Bob invited him to the set. Jim Carrey came to the set, brought his daughter, said hello to some people, signed an autograph for me. And then years later, I did a small part in Fun with Dick and Jane, and he remembered me. He totally remembered me.
That's so awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a fun story. Oh my gosh, dude. So, I have a whole bunch of other questions, but I want to go into our next bit. This is a bit that I like to do on the podcast. I feel like the food or the snack that encompasses childhood is cereal. And every episode of this podcast, I like to review a box of cereal with my guest.
Yes, let's do it. Dude. Let's do it.
Yeah, and usually I like to get a cereal that has something to do with my guest in some way, shape, or form. So I spoke with my sponsors over at General Mills. Now, look, Mars, by sponsor, I mean that I like them and I buy their products.
Okay.
And by spoke to, I mean that I tweeted them repeatedly and they never got back to me. So
I was going to say, can I get a hookup? That's a good sponsor to have. Okay.
I mean, I'll send you the cereal, but I'll buy it myself. But the cereal that I chose for you is General Mills Monster Mash cereal.
All right. Good choice.
Yeah, so I chose this for you for a myriad of reasons. Yes. One, because we're in spooky season while we're recording this.
Yes.
You are clearly very infamous for playing the voice of Binx in Hocus Pocus.
Yes, right.
And yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I have also noticed about this serial is that they have found a way to bring multiple different characters and all that stuff. And yes. And something that I love about you is that you have also played multiple characters that are just a part of so many people's lives and have changed people's lives and things like that. So that is why I chose this for you. And also because you're a comic and you're dead inside, so that's why. So that's another reason. There you go. That's the funny reason. But yeah, so I know we're Zoom conferencing right now and yes. We can't really eat this cereal. So I figured we would do kind of like an ad for this cereal. But I figure what would be more fun is if you did an ad for this cereal as Binx.
Okay. As long as we know that this is not a real ad, it's satire. Uncle Disney, please don't come after us.
Well, in all reality, how about this?
Is Disney approving this ad? But Jason Marsden as Binx will be happy to look at this, because I have definitely, I've been around for 300 years, and I've sampled some cereals for sure, Mr. Mike. Yes. Definitely. And what I love about the Monster Mash is that it is free of witches. There's no witch representation whatsoever.
That is very true.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
That is very true.
What do you enjoy about the Monster Mash?
Well, one of the things that I enjoy about Monster Mash cereal is that it has all the different flavors, which in all reality seems disgusting, but it's not. Which just like, that's probably the thing that should be on the box. It seems disgusting, but it's not. Yes, because
look at all the different. There's blueberry, there's chocolate, blueberry, and strawberry. I don't know what the mummy flavor is. Probably very chalky and dusty. I'm guessing. Yeah, I've been around a lot of mummies, a lot of dead people, Mike.
Yes,
and they're usually good for cat litter boxes instead of. Yes, I think of that, and then there's a wolf man, and I just think of wet dog hair, and that's not very tasty. But I'm sure all put together with a bunch of sugar or corn syrup, whatever they're using these days, I'm sure it's quite tasty.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for that. Non-copywritten Binx. Copyright free Binx. Thank you so much. So General Mills Monster Mash cereal, ladies and gentlemen, they said it couldn't be done. They were probably right, but we did it. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. That is really, now I'm all curious. I remember I didn't get all the
I remember I think Blueberry was my favorite.
It's so good.
It's not about the cereal. It's about the marshmallows. You know?
I know.
Really, it's what it's all about. So you put a handful of marshmallows in your mouth, it's all going to taste fantastic.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. It's so good.
Freeze-dried marshmallow goodness.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with you. So I'm going to hit the giant elephant in the room that I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast is very upset that I haven't asked this question about.
Right here.
Yeah. Tarzan. Let's talk about that. You were.
That is not where I thought you were going with that. I was like, oh my gosh, what has he dug up?
I'm completely kidding.
Oh my Christmas.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm kidding. Let's talk about a Goofy movie. So just talk to me about the process. Like, how did this all start? Like, was it just a regular audition?
Yep. A regular audition. I was aware of Goof Troop because that was the predecessor. And I think that the movie was intended to be like a Goof Troop movie. And I knew very well that Max was voiced by the late fantastically talented Dana Hill.
Yeah.
They brought me in. I read and I got a couple of callbacks and thankfully Kevin Lima, also the director of Tarzan, liked what I did and gave me the gig.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
And working with Bill Farmer must have been super fun too.
Yes. I mean, I'd met him a couple of times. Like I said, I was a Disney nerd and I used to do promos for the Disney Channel back in the day. And every so often some people would come through the studio and one day it was Billy. It was the late Wayne Allwine as Mickey and Lucy Taylor as Minnie and Tony Anselmo as Donald. And they would come in and I knew exactly who they were.
Wow.
I read it all in the magazines. I knew what they looked like. And I had met them a couple of times. And actually not a lot of people know this, but back in like 87, 88, they were attempting to do a Disney Babies cartoon, kind of like Muppet Babies, but with Baby Mickey, Donald, Goofy. And I got very close to Baby Goofy.
Whoa.
In fact, I booked it, but they ended up just not doing the project at all. So I was a little goofy before I was a little goofy.
Yeah.
I'm really always goofy, Mike. But I had when they came through the studio and I was doing the promos, I told Billy that I was like, oh yeah, I was going to play Baby Goofy in this, but I'm pretty close to playing the same role. So it's kind of cool, like full circle that years later I'd actually get to play Goofy's son and then solidify a fantastic relationship with Bill Farmer, who's just a delight.
Man, and so this is going to be a weird question because as an actor, at least coming from myself, it is weird to watch myself. And I'm sure is it weird to watch yourself as well? I love it. I'm admittedly that narcissistic and egotistical. No, that's great. I love it. I mean, that's part of the joy. I wish I was like you. Part of the joy of being an actor is like, I've always kind of wanted to do this. I remember watching like a lot of Nickelodeon when I was a kid, a lot of sitcoms, and I'm like, man, I'd like to do that. So I do enjoy it. Am I critical of myself? Absolutely. Sure. But I always look forward to checking it out. No, my question was going to be, have you shown your son a Goofy movie and like how has that been like showing, the next generation, something that you've been in, something that big, like a Goofy movie. Yeah, I have definitely shown him some of my work. I haven't sit down, son, we're going to go through dad's library. I mean, I don't do that, but when appropriate, and that Goofy movie is definitely something that's come up. And then once he became aware, he's 11. And a few years ago, once he became aware of the popularity of it and my position in that, he got interested. He's like, I want to watch this again. I think with a different interest in it. But it feels good. I mean, it's trippy to think that,
I was pretty much a teenager when I did the movie, and now I have a son, and I get to share that with him. It's a father-son story that I get to share with my child. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. I mean, it's definitely one of those like you watch those movies and you got to call your dad. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's been like the consistent review when people come up to me, if I do an appearance at a con or even just off the street. The most like revisited conversation is, I love a goofy movie. I've had this sort of tumultuous relationship with my father or parent, but when we watch that movie, we bond over that movie.
Of course.
And that just blows my mind.
Well, and not only that, it's also the first time that we ever got to see Goofy have real feelings.
Yes.
And because of that, it just breaks your fucking heart. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, just like, you're just like that scene, where he's just like, I just want you to stay out of my life. And he's like, I just want to be a part of it. Like,
I know, right?
You're just like, God, Max is such a dick, like it's the worst. I thought that
the whole time. Because hey, if I talked to my parents the way Max talked to his dad, I would have gotten smacked. Oh my God.
Me too, dude. Me too, dude. Holy crap. My parents are Cuban. I would have died. I would have died and come back as a ghost.
Sure.
Like,
oh my gosh.
But that movie is, and another thing too is just, and I'm sure this has been said countless amounts of times, but the soundtrack slaps like nobody's business.
Man. Right.
Tevin Campbell just kills those power line songs. Full disclosure here. What's it called? I actually wanted to become a musician because of Powerline.
Right on, man.
Yeah. So I actually started playing music because of Powerline.
Look at that.
So there you go.
Love that.
I've always wanted to be a Prince Michael Jackson dog. I always thought that would be super cool.
Right on, man. Man. You're working on your moves?
Yeah, I'm trying. No. No, what I do is it sounds, it's like piano rock, basically. It's similar, but it's not really.
You're Prince, you're Michael Jackson, but you're sitting.
Yeah. I'm sitting, cool. I'm standing. It's both. You're
Liberace.
Yeah. Some people actually, believe it or not, the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me was they said, "Hey man, you know what you remind me of?" And I go, "What?" And he goes, "You're like punk rock Billy Joel." And I go, "Dude, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me."
Oh, I love it. So is this part of your set? Do you infuse music in your set, or is that a different project?
It's a different thing. It's a different thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
good for you. I wish I could. I live here. I'm surrounded by musicians, and I have you can see it. I have a drum kit behind me.
Yeah.
And I've been learning for years, and it's so infectious. It's such a great way to bring people together. And
it's the best.
Great
and drums is the best way to just take out aggression as well.
That too. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You seem like you don't have much aggression. You're like, yeah, sure.
I have aggression. I don't use it in my drums. Like I'm not like Dave Grohl. Like I'm not
sure.
that kind of a drummer.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more like I think I gravitate more towards like playing along with hip hop because it's just
okay.
a pocket.
Yeah.
Staying in the groove, and that it's more meditative,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not like
that's super fun.
I don't have. There's not a statement I need to make on the drums. It's more like I just want to play.
No, that's super cool. Hip hop drumming and gospel drumming is super fun anyway.
Totally.
It's all about like the different licks that you can do and stuff like that. So that's always super fun. So I have a couple more questions for you, and thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate.
No, this is fun.
I really appreciate your time and just you being a part of this. And I'm just such a big fan of yours. And yeah, man, this has just been an amazing thing.
I'm having a good time.
but yeah, dude, I do want to talk about Hocus Pocus a bit. Playing Binx and all that. And I know that story is semi, I guess, unconventional because it was cast as another person, and then they brought you in, I believe, to do the voice.
Yes. Yeah, it's not so unconventional. It happens a lot.
Sure.
In movies, Sean Murray, who plays human Binx, he was hired to play human Binx and do the voice. And about, they wrapped filming about a few months into post-production. The movie was like 80% done. It was cut together. They were, Binx was already mostly animated to Sean's performance. Someone decided that they wanted a different sound. I think Sean was using his own voice. There's talk about because he had an Australian accent, but I don't recall that being the case. It was just his normal delivery. And Binx is 300 years old. He's from colonial Salem. He should have an old world sort of sound. That's what was presented to me when I auditioned for it. And then I booked it. So I had to go in, and it's cheaper for them to put me behind a microphone and just loop to the picture than to spend. It'll probably be like $1 million just to put me in the outfit, get the cameras, get the location, and shoot me as the guy. So
right.
That's why it happened the way it did.
Right. No, and that's amazing, man. And like just the love that movie has, man. And right? I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. And like, just to kind of give you, and listeners of this podcast know my story a bit, but I'll give you a little bit of a glimpse into my story because it plays into Hocus Pocus a little bit.
You were raised by witches.
I was raised by witches. No, I grew up in a very conservative Christian home. Quite the opposite.
Okay.
I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and so I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of things, involving witchcraft, wizardry, a lot of things.
Sure.
And which is really funny because my rebellion was very tame. My rebellion was like sneaking Harry Potter, like a movie for children, like,
sure.
And so I actually didn't watch Hocus Pocus until a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I am happy to report that it is very good.
Right on, man.
It
is
still
very good.
holds up. It still holds up.
Yes.
And once I saw it, I was like, I get it. I know why everyone likes this movie.
Yes.
Like, I just understand it. I mean, it makes complete sense. There are some movies where a lot of people hype them up and you kind of watch them, after the fact, and you're just like, why was everybody into this?
Sure.
But that one, you just kind of understand it, where you're just like, I get it. Like, I understand why people dress up as the characters. I understand why there's, cereals, based on these people. Like,
there's sushi. Everything. Someone sent me a picture of a restaurant that's doing Hocus Pocus sushi.
Really?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of
goodness.
There's some other like weird thing, but it's mind blowing. You work on something. I mean, everything an actor works on it's just a gig, after a while,
yeah.
It's just a gig, and you hope everything is going to be big and well received. And then you work on things like Hocus Pocus, which was released in like July of 94, 93, kind of came and went. And then bam, 25, almost 30 years later, I don't think it's ever going to stop. People are watching it religiously routinely on Halloween, like you and I would watch like A Christmas Story or Christmas Vacation or
exactly.
That's really, it's pretty cool. It's pretty dope.
Well, and another thing too, is like, you could kind of say the same for a Goofy movie, is that, cause like a Goofy movie was like, I mean, and I'm not 100% sure how it did in the box office, but from my understanding, wasn't it not supposed to be a theatrical release, but then they pushed it to theaters?
It went back and forth. I think it was always intended to be a theatrical release.
Okay.
And I don't think it did great financially. As I remember correctly, it always seemed like it hovered in the number 2 in the box office for like a couple of weeks in a row. So I mean, like there was like some great awareness to it, but not enough for Disney to be like, man, we're going to run with this. We're not right. You know, it took like 20 years to do merch.
Right, but but that's the crazy thing is that yeah, it's the number 2 movie or whatever, but like tell that to the merchandising, man. Tell that to like all the, I mean, I'm wearing a freaking Powerline shirt right now. You know what I mean? Like, like, I mean, you know, I have Goofy Movie Funko Pops in my room. Like, I mean, like there's so much Goofy Movie stuff, you know, and there's other Disney movies that are like, that other people don't even, you know, where there's no Rescuers Down Under merch, you know, like.
Well, look, I mean, like it is show business. It's not show feelings. It's not show friends. And as fun and as directed towards families as these movies are, it's all about there's the main people behind them are the people who are making the decisions about money. Right. And that's why it takes like Toy Story, like they didn't invest any money in merchandising for that. And they had to catch up real quick when that movie came out. Yeah. It went like gangbusters. And now, you know, there's another Toy Story coming out and then a spinoff. It's the nature of the biz, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Which that spinoff is just like, there's so much metaphorical. It's like a herald, like you're like, what in the world?
Yeah, man. Crazy.
To use an improv reference. It's like a herald, like everything is like so metaphorical. You're like, so it's the reason that the toy was made for a fake movie that's in the what?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
You're like, okay, I think I get it. You know. But anyway, so I want to talk about the stuff that you're doing now.
Yes.
I love that you're doing stand-up. It makes me so happy. It makes, because, you know, not only do I love your work and I love you as a performer, but like, it always just makes me happy that the people that I love as performers and I think are actually funny on screen do stand up, you know, cause like it's, in my opinion, it's like the top tier comedy thing, you know, even, you know, and so it just makes me happy, you know, that you do it, even if you're not good at it, at least you're trying, you know what I mean? Totally. Cause at the end of the day, like who's really good at it? You know, like only 5 of us are really great at it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, but yeah, so we talked a bit about it in the beginning, but you know, can you elaborate just a bit more on like why you started it and like, you know, kind of what you want to do with it? Like, do you have any future plans or is it just kind of like a hobby or like that kind of thing? I
mean, I'd like to take it more seriously, but I do take it seriously. I'd like to dedicate more time to it. But I know, like you said, like the 5 people who are really good at it, the 5 people who are really good at it are the ones who are going to open mics every night, who are putting on shows, who are traveling. And at the moment, I don't have I just don't have the time to do that. I would like to, I would like to, I'd like to at least build up to where I have 15 minutes and I could book myself at clubs. I'd like to get up to that point, but I haven't found my voice yet. I can't decide if I'm a long form joke teller or like Stephen Wright, Mitch Hedberg kind of joke teller.
Sure.
I'm still feeling it out, but I haven't gone to enough mics to really discover that. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. I'd like to try to be less, the actor in me, the narcissist in me, I rehearse a lot and I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to be more off the cuff.
Right.
I record myself and I'm like, I know I talk too fast. I can't get my thoughts out and tie them together when I'm nervous on stage. And I need to embrace the silences, you know?
Yep.
But that's where I'm at with that. But I support, I'm a big supporter of my local community. I produce a show on YouTube, if I can plug it, if you don't mind.
No, I was actually going to get to that.
Thank you. It's called the Mars Variety Show, and it's inspired by the variety shows of the 60s and 70s, like the Dean Martin Show, Laugh-In, and I cast myself as the Dean Martin, and I invite all the local musicians in Nashville, the local comedians and alternative performers like circus performers, artists. And I kind of put it into like this, I call it a relentless good time, just nonstop, music joke sort of thing. And I, because I see so many great artists here that are performing in these clubs for like 6 people.
Yep.
That I'm like, you need to be seen by more people. Like, what can I do? Well, I have a following. I have a TV background. I know how to produce something like this. So that's what that show is all about. And definitely featuring stand-up comics is one of my joys.
No, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, something that I can definitely say, going back to, you were talking about trying to find your voice and things like that. And it's one of the most difficult things to find, to be honest. It's the hardest part about stand-up, in all honesty. I would say that as an actor and as a performer, you kind of skip the line a little bit because you're used to, or at least in my case, I was used to performing in front of people quite a bit. And so it wasn't a new thing for me. Like, I didn't have to learn how to take a microphone out of a mic stand. Sure. And for some people that takes some months. It really does. Like, as weird as that sounds, it really does. It takes some time for people to like not, to not be, some people are so nervous that they will just stand behind the mic stand, and so you need to remember, like, I mean, there's a lot of, it seems so basic when you're watching things on Netflix, but take the microphone out of the stand, move the mic stand out of your way. Like, these are all things that you don't consider, but they're all things that you need to do, and when you're nervous, you don't do them, so yeah, one thing that I will definitely say, cause you were talking about like, I don't know whether I'm a long form guy or or like a Stephen Wright, one-liner guy or whatever. That actually really reminded me of myself because I would say that I'm a hybrid of both of those things. Okay. So I tell stories, but I do little jokes in between.
Dig it.
So if that kind of helps what you're doing, that's like, that would be like a little bit of advice that I can give if not that I feel like I can or should give advice.
No, absolutely. No, you're a peer. I mean, I'm not above listening to any sort of recommendation to build another performer up. Right. Thank you. And I have thought about that. It comes
out of love anyway. Like it doesn't. Whenever I give anyone advice, it comes out of love. It never comes from anything else. Like it's because I want people to be better. That's all it is.
Right on.
But yeah, so that's something that I would kind of play around with if you're interested in something like that. But and from what I understand, you've been with some cool, like you have some cool peers as well, like Dusty Slay and and is Nate Bargatze with you guys as well in that scene? Or
Nate is I don't know if I've met Nate. I might have. I'm such an asshole. I can't remember people.
Sure.
I know of his name.
Yeah.
I've seen him around. But he's definitely a Nashville guy, as well as Dusty, who's now doing Tonight shows and all that. Dusty's like, he was like a Nashville guy, and then he got like super big. Yes. So like, he's like the guy. I have footage. I'll release it eventually. I shot a pilot for my Mars variety show. I had, as an experiment, I had this idea, and he was in it, and he was great. The pilot just did not come out right at all. But there is some bits that are great, and I'm I'm gonna like ride the coattails of his success to get the views from it. But absolutely, yeah, he's great.
I love that so much. And
we're having a good time. All right.
I love that we're having a good time. The whole hand thing.
Yes.
That's so funny. So I have just two more questions for you before I let you go. Right. And I love asking these last two questions to every guest. Just, because it kind of reminds us of how far we've come. And it reminds us where we, who we used to be and all that kind of stuff. And the first question that I would ask you is, what advice would you give to the younger version of yourself?
Oh man, give less fucks.
Yes.
Stop worrying about. Stop being so self-aware, and be willing to fail. Jump. Jump. I'm spacing on this actor's names, but like he says, not Ben Kingsley. But this actor would say, jump open-handed into the void. Just be willing to make more mistakes and then and get some more life learning. I didn't do enough of that because I feel like that makes a good artist. You can't do stand-up if you haven't experienced loss or love or fallen in love or lost love or traveled, or if you don't know about things. You can't talk about things if you don't know about things. So that would be a big thing. And I tell myself to don't listen to your parents. Don't take that shit. Fucking rebel. Come on.
And the last question that I have is, what do you think that kid would think of who you are now, considering who you are, like your success or whatever? Like, would they think that you're cool? Would they think that you're full of shit? Would they think, what would they think about you?
I think my younger self would be really impressed if he realized all the cool people he got to work with and all the great experiences that he's going to have. Mm-hmm. And, I think he'd be really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great question. Thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I love asking that question because it really reminds you about like the hills and valleys of being a performer, because like really when you have this dream, it's when you're a kid,
Sure. Yeah.
And when you get into the business, at least I've come to find it's just a lot of people that don't believe in that magic anymore. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of have to go back to that kid that still believed in that magic.
Totally. I think the only disappointment my younger self would have is if he would ask me like, am I going to be on You Can't Do That on television? And I'd say, nope, you have to be Canadian.
Yep. That's very funny.
Can't help you there. You got to be a Canuck.
You got to be a Canuck in order to do it. I love it, man. Mars, this has been so freaking fun, dude. What fun, an Mike. Honor to have you, man.
Oh shucks, get out of here. No, it's been an honor to be on your show. You do these, and I have a good time on every podcast I do, but this one was refreshing and wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. That's a really sweet review. Thank you very much. Where can people find you online? And please plug the variety show that you have as well.
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Jason Marsden. That's where I interact the most with everybody. And the variety show is just go to YouTube and type in the Mars Variety Show. Super important. If you would just hit the subscribe button, hit some like buttons. It's free. You have no idea how beneficial it is to a YouTube entity. And and by doing it, you're supporting independent musicians. You're supporting independent comedy just by hitting those buttons. And I would appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. And real quick for me, you can find me on Instagram at Mike Valdes, on Twitter at I am Mike Valdes, and you can go to whoismikevaldes.com to find out the answer to that question. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week. Please rate, review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
That's important too. You got to do that. Yes.
Yeah, it is important. Absolutely. And other than that, have a great week. Bye, besties.
Bye, besties. Good stuff. Thanks, man.
Oh my God, dude. This was so fun. Thanks for being on this, man.
You know, everywhere I go, like the number one question I get asked all the time is, what was your favorite voice you did? And I try not to be an asshole because I recognize that's probably the first time they think I've heard that question.
Sure.
I'm like, oh my God, is there anything else that they want to know? But that was, you asked some really good stuff. I love reviewing. I love reviewing the cereal.
Thanks, man.